Hey NVYO flutes, I hope you're doing well. I look forward to seeing you guys in person sometime before too long, but today I've got some videos to kick things off, as I know you're a couple weeks into rehearsal, a couple weeks into playing with the flute mask on and things like this. So I'm hoping I can throw some details at you that will be helpful as you keep moving ahead. So for this video, we're really going to talk about projection and using your sound as best you can and what you can help bring to rehearsals with that, both in relation to the mask and in relation to playing at these larger socially distanced intervals from your peers in the group. So first of all, in terms of some things with our personal protective equipment with the flute sock on the end. I wanted to mention one thing about that. If you, depending on what you're doing, you might want to make a little modification. If you've got a piece of fabric that you're putting on flat, get a little bigger piece so it bulbs out a little bit. It kind of balloons out. That makes a difference in our low notes. If you have a piece of fabric that's totally flat, your lowest note, mine is a low B, yours might be a low C, but your lowest note will not come out at all. And the couple of notes above it will give you some grief as well. Maybe just be out of tune, but maybe even struggle worse than that to be able to come out and speak sound-wise. So remember, a little bit bigger piece of fabric that you attach on just to give room for those lower notes to speak. For me and my students up here at UND, we've actually been using these little cinch bags. They came with something else. They came with the Wind Defender, which is another flute product that we're using in certain ways right now. But this has been particularly handy for us because I can just cinch it on, but the fabric is one that kind of keeps its own shape. So if you happen to have some little bag like this lying around the house somewhere, it can work really, really well for this. And that I have found to be super helpful, the fact that it will stay open and the end of the flute can function much like normal like that. Now, the good news is that having some sort of flute sock, our version of a bell cover, doesn't really impact things in terms of our volume or our projection. The mask is a little bit more problematic in terms of that. And I notice it varies some. Like for me, with all the many, many years of experience I have playing, it doesn't impact my projection or volume as much as it does for, say, some of my students or whatnot. So one important thing to remember with the mask, do double check the fit of it. Make sure it is fitting close, clear around your head. Otherwise, you might want to add a little pleat somewhere. And then, as I mentioned before, you might like having a nose piece to kind of help keep it down. For me, it helps keep it out of my eyes. But then the number one thing, when you put it on and you slide your flute in, do make sure, as I mentioned in the earlier video, to kind of poof it out just a little, to give a little space where you play. That does help with certain things, at least from what I'm finding. And now I've been teaching several weeks here at UND, so I've seen my students in a lot of different scenarios, and I've also performed with a mask on for the first time myself just this last Monday. So I'm getting to know this better and better too, as this year is all about innovating and figuring out new ways of doing things, right? Anyways, then what you really want to do is work on a core projecting sound. So what I would suggest is that you start with some comfortable low notes. We have to love our low A. It's our main tuning note in things. And as you play, you want to not only use a lot of air, you hear me talk about that big, bold, beautiful sound using a lot of air, but you also really want to be conscious of that air coming from your chest cavity and really feeling it come from your lungs. Our projection, getting our sound to move a long ways, doesn't really come from what we do in our mouths. It more so comes from what we do here and being comfortably upright and open while we play. So what I suggest that you do is work on that sound without the mask and then go back and forth putting the mask on to see how much you can replicate it and do all that you can. So like I said, starting on nice low A is a good way to go. Think of just getting a big, comfortably full sound. Really feel it coming from here. Go ahead and take a minute and play a couple of A's. I'll give you some time. Now, I pretty much guarantee that if I was there in person, I'd be saying, good, but you can do more. You can definitely find more in your sound. Think about even more air, a thicker airstream, and very singing, very oh, oh, feeling it very much from here. Just the way you can hear this, it's definitely part of the resonance of the voice. Try it again. Picture your sound going to the other end of a big room. Okay, next step is to work that through some different parts of the range. Take it up an octave. Go back down to that D in between. Go ahead and try those two and think about the same thing. Big, thick airstream, lots of gorgeous sound, and really feeling it coming from deeper within the body. Once you work through some sort of individual notes, you might want to do 2 or 3 notes, a little stepwise pattern. Definitely move up more into the higher and the lower ranges, but take a little time to kind of find those notes in different places. And then do the same thing with the mask. So again, as I put this in, I'm just going to make sure I leave some space. And now that A. And up the octave. I'm very consciously listening and working for my best, most comfortable sound. And then I'm also, well, let me mention this. Your sound doesn't just come out here. It's a combination of what comes out the mouthpiece, but also what comes out the open holes. So not everything that creates the sense of our sound is covered by the mask. But yet you do want to be really just conscious of how you're using your body and your air to really project that sound. Once you get comfortable going back and forth on some individual notes, jump in with some melodies. And the best thing you can do is multitask by pulling things straight from your repertoire to practice. So I know of the Chinese suite, you may not be doing all movements, and I'm not certain which ones you are doing yet. I'll check in about that before some of my future videos. But flip over to the one Lan Hua Hua, and you'll notice there at measure 27, after that 17 measures of rest, there's the main theme of this one. This is such a beautiful folk song. I've heard it many, many times in different settings. Anyways, and here it's given in octaves between the 2 parts, which is perfect. I would suggest you start by practicing the low octave and then pop up and start doing the high octave and alternate. Play the low one without the mask, finding your best sound, and then with the mask, again striving for your best sound. And take it up the octave and do the same thing. For now, let's just do the lower octave. Go ahead and listen once first. I should have mentioned too, for right now, take it slow, take it even slower than rehearsals, and breathe where you need to. you know that in what you're playing for the concert, you're going to need to breathe in sort of the right, best, most musical spots. For right now, think about your sound, think about your projection. Let's go ahead and try this one together. Again, nice and slow. I'm going to breathe in different spots, and you breathe in different spots too, wherever you need it, but focus on that big singing sound. So in your practice, take some time with that and then put on the mask. Emulate it as best you can. After you spend some time with sort of individual long notes and then some really lyrical melodies, then take it to some music that does something different. I pulled up the folk song, A Song of Riddles. This one's great because it's faster, it's got staccatos, it's got accents, it's got a lot more articulation in it. So it's doing something very different. Again, we're going to take it nice and slow, but your goal is to find this sound that really projects. So. So that whole melody is a great place to start, and what works really well about it is you can easily chop it up into little bits. So for example, just those first three notes. I did it a second time to try to get it even fuller. Then I'm going to put on my mask and work to keep that sense of openness to the sound as much as I can. It takes some practice, but the comfort gets there. It's very easy with the mask on and the flute sock on to kind of hide a little bit. Our sounds don't travel quite as well, and they also maybe just don't sound quite like us. It's really easy to want to shy away. And instead, the best thing you can do is really work for confidence of hearing your sound the way it is. You know, a beautiful flute sound, bring it out where you can. Now, speaking of confidence, I think this is particularly relevant too, especially in regards to the fact that you guys are having to sit further apart. So also, because you're not hearing people as closely around you, it's another reason it's easy to want to shrink, play a little softer, and to feel a little less confident. So what I have to encourage you to do is be the ones who are really going for it. What we really need right now in ensembles is for everyone to play even more confidently than usual to make up for that gap. That way you guys will be able to hear each other better, you'll be able to assert yourselves more, you'll be able to play better together and play more in tune. When we back off, we tend to get really, really out of tune, whereas when we play out more, we can keep that pitch more where it needs to be. So as you're working on these parts, be really thinking about playing with this sense of confidence, even though you're going to have that bubble of space around you and your peers are a little further from you than they usually are. Instead, think of leading the charge. Play out, because that's going to help give those violinists the confidence to play out more too, and the clarinetist behind you the confidence to play out more. So we need everyone in the group to really go for it. What I would suggest is that when you see the dynamics in your music, you always take them up at least one, more often two notches. So if you see a mezzo piano, you're gonna think forte. And if you see a forte, you're gonna think fortissimo. It seems extreme, but because it will help give you that sense of projection and more confidence in your part, and playing through the mask, getting your sound out there more. It will help a lot. And that's what we need everyone to do, is just to play out more and then can go from there. Now, of course, if Dr. Sutzerlein tells you you are too loud, you back off. But my guess, having not gotten to hear the group in person, is that right now he would absolutely love for everyone to give him more and to be able to find that ensemble sound more through that process. You guys will get more and more comfortable over the weeks, and you might be able to pull it back to dynamics more like what's written on the page. But for now, think of being a root of confidence in the ensemble. So again, to review, make sure your flute sock leaves a little room at the bottom. Practice your tone stuff for the sake of projection, a big, bold, beautiful sound. Practice without the mask, alternating and putting on the mask to work on emulating that same sound. Start with long notes and then go to melodies and then go to stuff that has more tonguing or staccatos and different articulation patterns in it, accents, things like that. And play, play, play out. I think these are the most critical things to sort of help make the steps to really work, to be able to really contribute as much as you can to the ensemble right now. It is so absolutely exciting and incredible that we're getting to play together in groups. Yeah, we've had to do some modifications and things, but it's amazing to be able to do this. And your director and your amazing Naomi have done some incredible planning to make everything work this year. So this is sort of where I'm seeing as the players in the different ensembles, where we really get to step up and contribute, is to do all we can to project and bring the confidence to help bring the group together. So I think I'm going to wrap up this video with that, but stay tuned. There's some more details coming to you.